are starting our next broadcast with Sebastian Diaz Mesa from Startup Chile. Hi, Sebastian. Nice having you here.
Thank you for having me here. How are you guys?
We are doing fine. And you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful morning in Chile.
It's still summertime, right?
Yes, it is still summer until March 21st. Then we're going to autumn. So
So
we
we're,
still have a couple. Yeah, we still have a couple more days of summer down here.
and we are just starting to go into spring.
Nice.
Yeah, Sebastian, I know a lot about Startup Chile and the wonderful things that you have done to develop the ecosystem and how great you've been. You've been quite mentioned in a global entrepreneurship network of the support you've given to the ecosystem and how you have contributed greatly to your national and also the global ecosystem by having best practices.
That's right. So we have been here since 2010, and our mission at the beginning was to create a startup ecosystem down here in Chile and to position our country as the best hub in Latin America for entrepreneurs. So far, after the 5 years, during the first 5 years, our focus was in changing our culture of how we do business down here because you know that Chile, if you look at the map, we are so far away from everything, So all the Chileans were thinking locally and not globally. So every time that the market was going down or there was a crisis or something like that, all the entrepreneurs were paying and suffering at the same time, So that's why everybody was just thinking in the Chilean market and not globally. So our program helped the Chilean to start thinking globally. And right now we're focusing on more in like an economical impact than in a cultural impact because the culture already changed down here.
That's really interesting. At the same time, I know that as a country, you are quite a long country and regions are quite separated from each other. So it's kind of hard to integrate even, I don't know, the regions together because you are such a diverse country at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so far, to be honest, all the entrepreneurial hub is concentrated on the capital in Santiago. Santiago is right in the middle of Chile. And we still like try to take Startup Chile to other regions. But you mentioned it, Chile is super long country. And in order to have an ecosystem, you have to have everybody together in the same place. So we cannot take entrepreneurs up to the north and up to the south because otherwise you're gonna take apart this ecosystem that we have built in Santiago. So when you talk about Startup Chile, and when you talk about the startup ecosystem in Chile, actually you're talking about Santiago, the capital.
Okay, that's interesting. So I know you have invited in your program different global entrepreneurs to come and be as change makers in terms of mindset, in terms of improving the culture there. How have you done that?
Yeah, so basically, when the program was born in 2010, as I was telling you before, we had a huge problem in Chile, and it was that you can find a lot of entrepreneurs in Chile, but nobody was thinking globally. So every time that the market was going down, or there was a crisis in the US, for example, the SMBs was pretty much paying all the cost of that crisis, So, and that's because they were just focusing on our market. So in order to change that, we need to bring talented people from around the world and put it in contact with the Chileans. Why? Just because the Chileans, 5 or 10 years ago, they didn't believe that they could go to another market. So when you talk to an entrepreneur, you tell them that they could go to open markets in other countries like Russia, India, or the States, or whatever, in Europe, for example. And the answer was pretty much that happened only in the movies. I cannot go to those markets. We're so far away from everybody that it's almost impossible to reach other markets. So in order to change that mentality, we need to bring talented people from everywhere around the world, sitting in the same table, Chileans, people from Germany, from the US and Singapore. And that way the Chilean can realize that they have the same abilities than entrepreneurs from everywhere around the world, and they have the same capability to start businesses everywhere where they want. So after 5 years of putting in contact the Chileans with the international community, we can say that cultural change already happens. When the program starts, you can see that probably like 5 or 3% of our portfolio were Chileans. Right now, we're around 40%, and that is telling you that the businesses that Chileans are creating are more capable of compete with foreigners right now.
Outstanding. This is really outstanding, because we are confronting with the cultural also issue, and it's a lot of issues that are linked with the fact that we were under the influence of the Soviet system, which kind of inhibited the entrepreneurial spirit in the people. So people were actually deported, and there is a lot of stigma still on with entrepreneurs. So we want to change that, and this is a great example. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about this, because I believe in inspiring other people. So I hope people can get inspired further. But we are approaching Women's Day, International Women's Day, and I know that you, Startup Chile, have prepared something not only for Chilean women, but also for the women, for the international founders or ideas that come from women in entrepreneurship, in innovation. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So in Startup Chile, we have 3 programs. You can get into those programs depending of your stage of the startup, of the stage of your startup. So we have the S Factory, the Seed Program, and the Scale Program. The Seed Factory, the S Factory, sorry, is a pre-accelerator program for people that has only an idea. And we have a focus on women's entrepreneurs in that program. And that's because, not just because we want more women in technology for a marketing reason. It's just, if you go into Google and you look what's the results of women working in startups, you're going to find a lot of literature that tells you that women can at least duplicate the performance of a startup, you know? So if we want to have more successful startups, we need to bring more women into technology. And it's a huge world problems, women's working in technology, in science, mathematics, physics, or whatever, you know? And that's a cultural problem. So we need to take the idea that women has, take them from the beginning and help them to build a prototype. And that's what we do in the S Factory program. So we're opening an application process on March 14th, close on March 28th, and we accept ideas. You can have an idea or up to 6 months of developed, and you can apply to our program. You can have a huge team with 10 people or whatever, but at least one of the founders must be a female founder. If you apply and if you get accepted, you're going to get accepted into a 3-month pre-acceleration program. We give you 10 million pesos, Chilean million pesos. That's around $15,000. And you're going to get into a pre-acceleration program that is going to help you to build that prototype that you need to start your business.
I know most of the women that have good ideas and that they would be interested in those markets as well. They would ask, like, what is going to be my investment? What is the initial investment that I have to make, at least to get into this program?
So you don't have to make an investment. The grant that we give you, so if you get selected in the S Factory, we give you the $15,000 grant, and that's equivalent to the 90% of the grant. So you have to put the 10%. So that's around, let's say, $1,500, the amount of money that you have to put. So if you get selected, I'll put 90% of the grant, and that's equal to the 15,000, and you have to put the rest of it, that 10%.
And it's an acceleration program or an accelerator?
No, it's a pre-acceleration program. So as I was telling you before, there's a huge cultural problem with women because they have great ideas. They have the same capability that men in science, in technology. But there's a problem. Women are not working in technology and in science, you know. So in order to bring more women into science and technology, we have to take them from an idea and help them to develop that idea. So that's when the S Factory helps women with an idea, to develop that idea and take that idea to a prototype or an MVP or something like that. So that's why we only accept ideas and something developed, something no more than 6 months old. So if you have an idea and if you have a team and you have a female founder, this is going to be the perfect program for you. We're going to help you to develop that idea. And then if that idea has success, you can develop a prototype. You can apply to the seed program. And that's the acceleration program that we have in the Startup Chile.
Mm-hmm. And it works as a program that is sponsored by international community and so on, but not as an accelerator where you actually get part of the equity, right?
Yes, I mean we're a public accelerator. We don't take any equity. We don't take any equity in any of our programs. So we give you the grant, and we're not taking participation of your company. So basically, the things that we ask in return us to transform our entrepreneurs into global entrepreneurs. So as soon as you arrive to the country, we're going to put you in contact with a lot of stakeholders like universities, municipalities, government, etc. So that way you can connect with the Chilean entrepreneurs and help them to start thinking globally.
Okay. Can, for example, a woman with an idea that doesn't have co-founders at this stage apply for this program and then maybe find a co-founder there, like a Chilean or someone that has also complementary expertise to support her in developing that idea?
Yes, sure. Since you're applying with an idea, sometimes it's hard to have a team because, I mean, you are in just a concept stage, you know, so it's kind of hard to have a team. But the things that we take in consideration when you apply to Startup Chile, the S Factory program, is the background of the entrepreneur. So if you have a solid background, you're probably going to have a lot of chances to get into the program.
Okay. Are you interested only in tech and in everything that is connected with science and technology, right?
Yes, that's right. And the reason why we're focused on technology is because, as I was telling you, we're so far away of the rest of the world. And if you think in global markets, technology and science is the bridge that is going to connect you with other markets. So if you have a traditional SMB, let's say a restaurant, for example, and if you want to open that restaurant in India, you can do it, but it's going to take you a lot of work and money to do that because you're going to have to travel to India, you're going to have to find a place to put your restaurant, you're going to have to hire people, you're going to need to see all the permission that you're going to need in order to open a restaurant, and that's going to take a lot of time and money and resources. But if you develop an application, the only thing that takes you to open market in India is that somebody download the application in India. So
at the same time, if we continue with the restaurant subject, if you have, let's say, a specific type of experience that you expect the visitors to receive there, and you can replicate the concept of the restaurant and you have intellectual property over that concept, would that idea be
it's
of interest?
I mean, with that little information, it's kind of hard, but I will say no. Even if you have the license, just because of all the resources that it's going to take you to open new markets, you know. I'm not telling that a restaurant cannot be global. I mean, there's tons of examples. You can have McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks. Those are global companies, you know. But it's going to take you a lot to scale to those markets if you have a traditional SMB. In the other hand, if you have a technology-based startup, the scalability is super high. So once the prototype is done, and once you have the first clients in one market, the scale to other countries is not going to be that hard as with an SMB. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. but let's say, for example, I know that it might be connected with just selling the possibility to replicate that type of restaurant in different cities. It's a very interesting concept. I have not seen one, but I think it could be, because I know many organizations and some accelerators are interested in experience technology, like when people go and get benefit from a different experience, and then this model could be replicated, like, for example, Cirque du Soleil. It's an interesting business model, which I think was very disruptive in the sector.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about success models, like really good ones, but the Cirque du Soleil took a lot of time to reach that model, you know? So as I was telling you, that time could be, like, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe 1 year, maybe 5 years or 10 years. I'm not saying that you cannot take a restaurant and put it there everywhere around the globe. The thing that I'm telling you is that it's going to take you time and a lot of resources. I'm pretty sure that took a lot of resources to Cirque du Soleil to have the business model that they have right now, to be everywhere around the world. They have to pretty much travel to every country. They have to find the people in every country. They have to do the castings. They have to find the right people, you know, and that's going to take you a lot of time. But with a technology-based startup, the only thing that you need with an application, for example, is just to put it in the App Store. And if you want to open a market somewhere else, you just need to people start downloading that app. You know the difference? So you can have a global restaurant for sure, but it's not as high scalable business. If you compare that with an application or a technology-based startup. Well, let's say if you find the cure for cancer, I'm pretty sure that if you find that, that's going to be around the world in like a couple of weeks. That's a high scalable business.
Okay. Have you run this project before, or it's in the first year? I mean, the Women Founders Project.
We launched the Diaz factory back in 2015, and we are in the 5th generation already. So we have in that portfolio around, let's say, 60 or 70 startups that have been through the Diaz factory program already.
And mainly from Latin America, or do you have European ones?
No, we have European ones. We have a couple of people from Spain, Germany, Czech Republic.
Okay.
I don't remember all the countries. Most of the people is coming from Latin America, but this is a global program. So anybody from everywhere around the world can apply. And I will say that we have more Latins just because we're closest to the Latin American countries.
Okay. So now we are soon to close. Do you have any closing words? Or
yes, to all the female founders out there, please apply to Diaz Factory. It's an awesome pre-acceleration program. If you have just an idea and you don't know what to do with that idea, you don't know where to find a team, please come down here to Chile. We're so far away from the rest of the world that it's going to be an amazing experience. We're not going to ask you to stay in Chile. After the program, you can go back and still work on your startup, but we want you down here to help you to grow your business.
Thank you, Sebastian. It was nice talking to you, and hope to see many women founders to apply. And I really hope that Moldovan founders will find this as an opportunity to connect and also develop their startups out there. And why not develop international businesses?
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to meet some Moldovans here in Chile.